Um, Let me share my screen and then we can start. Yeah. So as today is our
जस्ट एक
first,
क्वेश्चन है मेरा, ये रिकॉर्डिंग आफ्टर दी
हाँ,
क्लास मिलेगा या आफ्टर से मतलब कोर्स के बाद मिलने वाला है?
नहीं क्लास के बाद ही मिलेगा, पर थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा क्योंकि मैनेजमेंट उनको अपडेट करके फिर मिलेगा। तो नॉर्मली एक आध दिन में, मतलब शाम तक या तो कल सुबह तक पूरा रिकॉर्डेड सेशन सारा एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो। मतलब आज का अगर सेशन है तो शाम तक या कल सुबह तक, और सेम वे हर दिन का तो तुरंत ही मिल जाएगा। पर या तो फिर शाम को या दूसरे दिन सुबह तक मिल जाएगा। ओके।
ठीक है, ठीक है।
So let us start up with our today's session. So as today is our first session, definitely we are not going to have the complex topics, right? Today, what we'll be doing is this first few sessions, right? Today's session and tomorrow's session, we will be having our particular like we will be going forward and we will be understanding the basics of the client application. We'll be configuring our lab environment so that we can go forward with our vulnerabilities as well, right? As the client application are our desktop applications, definitely the same techniques which we were using for web application penetration testing, mobile application and APIs, right, will not be working here. Here we need to have multiple tools for the specific vulnerabilities and the exploitation for the same. So we'll be looking after that and we'll be understanding what actually are the basics. We'll be going forward and understanding all the fundamentals, which is going to help us in our exploitation as well. Okay. So basically, the main agenda for today's session is to understand what actually are the thick client applications, what are this type of applications, what are the type of thick client applications, right? How actually they work in the back end. And we will be starting up with how we can set up our lab environment as well. Before jumping into the session, let me introduce myself, right? So I am Keval. I will be your trainer for this particular sessions. I have started from half a decade back. Basically, I have, like when I started as a web application penetration tester, where I have handled the projects on web applications, mobile applications, Android and iOS applications, thick client applications, even the specific API applications, right? Later on, currently I am handling the payment applications, right? So basically any kind of fraud or any specific type of vulnerabilities in payment applications, I will be going forward and validating the same thing. Majorly the post applications, right? Which is where we will be swiping our cards and basically validating whether there is any specific type of payment fraud which is happening or not, right? So the ATM applications, those kind of applications I'm currently doing the penetration testing on, and basically I will be checking whether there is any kind of vulnerabilities or not on those specific type of things. So overall, that was all about me. Let us jump into the specific the client applications and understand what actually are these applications. Normally, there will be two main type of applications which will be available. Okay, the first one is thin client application. What actually is thin client application? The application which we are seeing currently, right? Like how we are having this Google Docs. So typically, this particular application which can be executed or which can be rendered within the browser is called thin client application. Exact opposite of it, whenever we are installing the application which we can use it within our system, which is something like the Zoom, right? Currently we have installed Zoom application and we are utilizing the same thing. So basically that the applications which we can install within our system and we can have or check the functionalities of those specific applications are thick client applications, right? Very common type of applications which we will be testing during our projects as well, right? This thick client applications will be the specific this kind of applications. The typical scenario is whenever you go to the ATM, right? In ATM, you will be able to see there is one application which is installed in that operating system which works, and basically it is responsible for the payment and for validation whether the card is having or that particular balance and sending the request and getting the response, right? So that is one of the example of thick client application. Similarly, we are using PowerPoint, Word, right? Zoom, Teams, Skype. All of these particular applications are thick client applications. Typically, what we can install within our operating system, and we can utilize within our particular system itself. Now, definitely in case in between, if you guys are having any doubts, any queries, right, you can stop me there. You can ask the questions. Once your doubts are sorted out, definitely then only we'll be going forward with our next topics, right? So in between, if you guys are having any doubts, do let me know. We will be able to discuss on the same.
यस
Okay.
मुझे डाउट नहीं बट एक पूछना था थिन क्लाइंट मतलब ब्राउजर बेस्ड एप्लीकेशन और थिक क्लाइंट मतलब वही
System
एप्लीकेशन जो
based
ब्राउजर पे
application.
या ओके सिस्टम बेस्ड और
हाँ,
कुछ है डिफरेंस
नहीं और कोई difference नहीं.
ओके फाइन
Yeah. Next one is feature of application. So if there is thick client applications, right, what actually are the advantages of using this thick client application? Normally, thick client application will be the system based. So basically all those specific things, right, which are installed within our system, first of all, will be requiring less of our network bandwidth to show us all those specific graphical user interface and all of those specific type of things. Okay, so at that point of time, many of the thick client application will not actually require the network access, right? We will be able to go forward and complete all the functionalities without any having the network access as well, right? So that type of thick client applications will be there. And as everything will be most of the things will be client side. So at that point of time, the complex calculations, right? All those specific logical algorithms, right? So basically all of those specific things will be done within our system itself, right? So at that point of time, the application will be much more faster than the web applications, which we typically see, right? So at that point of time, they will be requiring the network bandwidth, they will be requiring all of those specific things to be done on the back end. And basically at that point of time, we will be able to see those specific things, right? So complex menus will be there here. We'll be able to go forward and see the good amount of graphics with less network bandwidth, right? And we'll be able to get everything much more faster than the web applications which are available.
ये जो कॉम्प्लेक्स कैलकुलेशन है ये
हाँ,
सिस्टम के कॉन्फ़िगरेशन पे डिपेंड करेगा ना अगर
हाँ,
मेरे सिस्टम की कॉन्फ़िगरेशन अच्छी नहीं तो मतलब फास्ट रन ही नहीं करेगा ना
मतलब अगर हम नॉर्मल एप्लीकेशन लेके चले तो इतना इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता, राइट? अगर हम
ओके
हैवी एप्लीकेशन लेके चले तो फर्क पड़ता है, राइट? पर नॉर्मल एप्लीकेशन में बेसिकली रैम विल बी फाइन, राइट? सो बेसिकली वहाँ पे इतना कुछ अगर सिर्फ हम 500 MB के लैपटॉप में भी चला लेते तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती है.
ओके
Now, let us understand what actually will be the architecture of the client application. Typically, there will be two types of architecture within the client application. Now, in case if anyone is going for the interviews, definitely if they want you to take up the client projects, they are going to ask you this particular question, right? So basically, and even though whenever we are doing the projects, we need to understand from our clients that what particular architecture they are coding for their application to understand whether there is how actually the application is being processed. So there are typically two types of architecture which is available within the client application. The first one is two-tier architecture. Two-tier architecture is nothing but basically where we will be having client and server. Okay, client will be the place where the application will be installed. For example, in my system, Zoom is installed, right? So basically, my machine is a client, right? And there will be the backend server where the logical data will be available. So at that point of time, the backend logic will be available within that particular server itself. The client and the server will be constantly being communicated with the request and response. Okay, in the front end, we'll be able to see all those specific type of front end logic. Many times, what will happen is from the application side itself, there will be from the front end, there will be input validation which will be available where we cannot enter specific type of characters. There will be something which will be blacklisted or whitelisted. During our sessions, we will also be seeing During the front end itself, there is access control which has been implemented, right? So those specific type of things will be there. There will be some specific amount of application logic which will be available in the front end as well. Okay, but most of the things will be available within the backend, where application will be sending the request to the server and server will be responding back. This kind of thing will be similar to the web applications, right? But when it comes to web applications, it will be using HTTP or HTTPS protocol, right? Here, based on the functionality of the application, it might be using other protocols as well. For example, if you are using FileZilla type of applications, it will be using something like FTP, right? It might be using FTP, SFTP, it might be using HTTP, HTTPS, right? As, some of the client applications uses VNC or remote control, right? Remote desktop. So basically, based on the specific application functionality, different set of protocols might be used by the application. Here, we will not be having the limitation where we can have only HTTP or HTTPS, and that is one of the obstacle which we will be having, because first of all, we need to understand which particular type of protocol is being used, and then we need to understand how to intercept the same thing, right? So basically, that is the first type of architecture. The first one will be two-tier architecture, where there will be only two particular things, client and server. All the graphical user interface will be available within the front end, right? A bit of a application logic will also be available in the front end. In the back end, all the specific details, right? Based on the business logic, right? Data logic, application logic, all of those specific things will be available in the backend. Many times, if there is very less data which needs to be stored, okay, it will be stored in the client end itself within our system, within the files or within the small database like SQLite, right? It might be utilizing to go forward and store the data typically at that point of time. And from that, it will be fetching the details as well, right? During our further examples in our next all sessions, we are going to see how actually the client applications store this data within the file or local database, and how actually we'll be able to find the vulnerabilities from the same as well. Next one is three-tier architecture. So three-tier architecture will be consisting of client, application server, and database server. Okay, so in case if there is a good amount of data, for example, here we are utilizing Zoom, right? Or we might be utilizing something like Skype. The data which will be available, definitely they will be having loads of data for a particular user, and there will be loads of users related data, right? And they are not only using that particular data for the thick client application only. They might be using for the mobile applications, for the API applications, for their web applications. Okay, they will be using the same data everywhere. So at that point of time, they will be required to have a separate source or separate particular place where they just need to store the data from which application server can fetch the data. So in that kind of instances, right, where there is huge amount of data which will be rendered or taken up by the application, and it needs to be function based on that particular data, this kind of architecture will be deployed. Typically this kind of applications, right, Zoom and those kind of things, they will be having a huge amount of users, and each user will be having huge amount of data which will be entering there. My recorded sessions will be there, right? My personal details will be there, email ID, password, and all of those things will be there. Everything will be stored there. So definitely everything cannot be stored within my system, because anyone can modify it, right? And basically the same data will be used in the web applications and mobile applications as well. So they cannot store everything within my system, otherwise they will not be able to fetch within the web application or mobile application. So basically at that point of time, this three-tier will be available, where will be application, our client application will be sending the request to the application server. And then whenever there is any kind of requirement, right, where we need to update either our details, or delete or create some specific type of data, it will be reaching out to the database server, and there all those specific things will be performed. Later on, response will be available with the application server, and it will get back to us, right? So those specific type of things will be available at that point of time. So these are the two types of architectures. Any doubts, any queries? till
हाँ
now?
मुझे
Yes.
एप्लीकेशन सर्वर और डेटाबेस सर्वर का समझा नहीं.
Application server, what actually it will be doing? It will always be only processing the logic of the application. Okay. For example, if I am clicking on this mute button, right? What actually application should be doing? So that type of things will be done by application server. It will be processing the logic. But now, if I am renaming myself, right? If I am renaming or myself, so at that point of time, it will require to modify my data. So that particular thing will be done within the database. Okay, so that is the main difference. Basically, application logic, application server will be always functioning, or basically it will be completing the application logic. For example, if I am clicking on this button or that button, right, the request will be sent and that will be processed by application server itself. But in that scenario, if I'm requesting to update some of the details from the database, right? So at that point of time, application server will be creating a specific query, which will be later on executed in the database server. Database server will be updating what actually is the response to application server, and then we will be getting the response. Likewise, let us understand with one of the example for you to get more clarity. So basically, for example, there are two scenarios, and let us assume we are using Stripe as our thick client application, right? Now, my first function which I am doing is I am clicking on, right, join meeting, right? So at that point of time, what actually is happening in the backend? Basically, once I am clicking on that particular button, my thick client application will be executing one of the requests. And the request, where actually it will be going? It will be going to the application server. Application server is the place where all those specific requests will be processed. Okay. So at that point of time, application server will be able to identify that, okay, user wants to do this particular type of task. Right? It will process that and it will generate a response, which will be later on shared with our application, and it will be able to process that response. So for example, if I am going forward and I am clicking on joining the meeting, the request will be shared and application server will be completing that logic, that whether I am authorized to join the meeting or not. If yes, then basically it will allow me to join the meeting, and the same response will be shared it with my application and I will be able to join the meeting. If not, it will not allow me and it will throw me some error, right? So those processing will be done by application server. Okay.
तो ये
Now,
रिक्वेस्ट डेटाबेस के पास जाएगी ही नहीं कभी.
हाँ, तो इस सिनारियो में रिक्वेस्ट डेटाबेस के पास नहीं जाएगी.
बट वो
ओके.
ऑथराइजेशन तो डेटाबेस के थ्रू ही करेगा ना, क्योंकि डेटाबेस में तो सारे डिटेल्स स्टोर है ना.
हाँ, पर अभी के लिए ये बस एग्जांपल था, राइट? सो बेसिकली in this scenario, just we are understanding how actually the logic, like how actually the process of application server will be available. Okay. Now, let us understand the second scenario. For example, if the meeting which I am trying to join, right, it requires a authenticated user, right? A authenticated user to join that particular meeting. So that is the main reason why application server has rejected my request to join the meeting, and it asked me that only authenticated user will be able to join that particular meeting. So now I need to perform the second function to join the same meeting, okay, where I need to log into that particular application. So for the login, I will just go to that particular login button, okay, and then I will enter my credentials, right? And then I will click on submit, or basically login button, right? Where I will be able to enter my credentials and I will click on them. So in that scenario, what will happen is basically the request again will be taken up by my application. That particular request will be shared to application server, right? And now application server understands that, okay, here user needs to go forward and log in, but application server does not know that what actually, whether my credentials are correct or not. So those specific things are stored in the database. So at that point of time, what actually it requires is it requires the access of the database. What it will do, it will generate a particular query, right? And basically that particular query will be shared it up with the database where actually it is hosted, and that query will be executed. Once that particular query is executed, database server will be checking whether that particular credentials are correct or not, and all of those specific type of things. It will go forward and send the response back to application server. Application server will be preparing the response for the application and will be able to get that result, right? So basically, this is how the three-tier architecture will be working, right? Where the application requires the database access, then only it will go forward and send the request to the database, getting back the details to us. And in the normal scenario where the processing is done, it will be done by application server. So this is the main difference. Okay.
Okay.
Keval, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So Keval, actually, I have one question. Like,
Yeah.
is it possible like desktop-based application also have that HTTP protocol?
Yeah, it is. It is possible. Many of the applications will be having the HTTP protocol, but it is not limited to HTTP, right? It will be having FTP. It might be having SSH. Likewise, it can use other protocols as well.
Okay, so actually, why I'm asking this question, because I'm working in a DevSecOps, and we are trying to integrate a tool like a Contrast, IS tool, in a CI/CD pipeline. So generally, we ask the team to whether they are using the because for the Contrast we require HTTP traffic. Okay, most of the time they are saying, okay, our application is a desktop-based application.
Correct.
So when we consider it is a desktop-based application, it is not applicable for us. Okay, because it is generally not using HTTP kind of stuff. Most of them are using JavaFX kind of technology, or maybe a .NET, .NET kind of thing for the desktop-based application. So in that case, how should we ask these questions so that we get the proper answer from them?
Okay, so you need to ask them like which all protocols, like so for example, what all are the functionalities based on the application, what actually is the functionality which is being used. You can ask that what kind of protocols they are utilizing for that particular desktop application, right? Definitely desktop applications will be having, for example, currently we are connected with Zoom, right? Zoom is using HTTP protocol and basically completing our our communication, right? So definitely it will be using, but many times what happens is along with HTTP, it might be using some traffic of FTP or any other particular protocol. Then again, you will be in the same situation there. You might not be able to like intercept half of the traffic, and again, it will be difficulty for you, right? So you can collect what all list of protocols they are using for which particular functions or which particular functionalities, and based on that, you can go forward and validate the same thing, whether it is available for your requirement or not. Because I have seen many of the applications in my projects as well, that for few of the functionalities, for example, login and logout, it is using the HTTP protocol. But for few of the functionalities, for example, checking the internal other servers, right? It is using some of the other protocol. For example, it is using ICAP and those specific type of things. So definitely there will be multiple protocols also which can be executed by the application itself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So any doubts, any queries till now, guys?
No.
Kunal, this is clear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then yeah, so basically to resolve this particular things, what all tools we are going to use. So definitely all the tool links and everything are available in the PDF. Okay, and this PPT, right? I will be sharing it with you guys after the sessions. Okay, so basically later on during our tomorrow's session, we will be understanding how to install these tools and how we'll be able to configure our lab environment as well. Today we will be having a walkthrough on what all tools we are going to use. And what actually is the functionality which they will be providing to us, how actually it will be helpful in our penetration testing as well. Okay. So first thing will be 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶. This is one of the, again, like how Burp Suite is very much useful in the penetration testing of mobile applications and web applications, right? And even the API applications. The same importance 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶 and MITM proxy is available for the client application. So definitely this is one of the another interceptor itself. What it will do, it will be intercepting the thick client request itself for us. We will be able to see the contents and we will be able to validate what actually are the data which is getting shared here. So basically, in our many sessions we'll be using later on, right, how actually 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗶 will be working. So typically, whenever our thick line process is executed within our application, right? For example, Skype, right? So basically, when once I open 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗶, I will be hooking 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗶's process with the thick client application, for example, Skype or Teams or whatever we are using. We will be hooking that process with that particular process, and basically we'll be able to intercept all the traffic. We'll be able to prepare the rules to validate some specific type of data. So all of those specific things will be able to validate with the 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗶 tool. Next, all tools will be understanding, but let us understand what are the major vulnerabilities which are available in the client application. Main thing will be injection attacks, as we are having server-side injection attacks, right? For other applications as well, same injection attacks will be available, but here there will be client-side injection attacks as well. So many times within the client side itself, we will be able to execute SQL injection and those specific type of things, right? So at that point of time, those specific things will be available. Parameter manipulation will be there, response manipulation will be there, improper error handling will be there, insecure storage. So basically, whenever we have previously discussed, right, that basically many times the thick client application will be storing the data locally, either in the local database, which it might be creating during the installation in our system, or within the files which it will be utilizing for the data. So we can like basically we'll be checking whether there is how the data is getting stored, right? Whether it is in the plain, it is in the encryption, which kind of encryption it is using, whether it is secure or not. All of those, whether we'll be able to modify that particular database or not, those things. Sensitive data disclosure, whether we are able to access other particular users' data within the application or not, or whether any kind of server-side files we are able to find or not. So those specific type of things. Application level DOS attack, right? So this will be a local DOS attack where we'll be able to try to crash the application. Improper access control, improper session management, and reverse engineering. So basically, these are the major vulnerabilities. Although it is not limited to it, it will be having, every vulnerability will be having sub types of it. Like for example, injection, there are very much like lots of injections which will be having, right? So basically, all those specific injections will be validating at that point of time. How will be our methodology? We will be doing the information gathering. What actually is information gathering here in application? Like how we are having a lot of steps in web applications, right? For information gathering, we will be taking the subdomains, and then we'll be checking different from active subdomain enumeration, and we'll be checking passive subdomain enumeration. We'll be collecting all the details. We'll be checking for the live subdomains. We'll be taking the screenshots of it. We'll be doing JavaScript enumeration. We will be validating that particular hidden parameters, hidden directories, and then we'll be coming up with those specific things, right? So there are lots of steps in reconnaissance in web applications, right? But here our scope will be limited, because normally if we are having one thick client application, means we will be testing that particular thick client application itself. Here there is nothing like subdomain or sub application or those specific type of things, right? If we are having one executable file, we'll be testing the same executable file itself. So here how our information gathering will be looking like. Here we will be doing the analysis of the executable file. We will be checking the strings of the application, right? Whether there is any sensitive data which is available or not. We will be trying to check the code of the application, right? That whether that particular code, if we are able to extract the code out of that executable file or not. Many times, if it is .NET application, right, if the proper implementation is not done, we can extract the full code out of it, right? The full exact code which has been utilized to develop the application, same code we can extract. So how actually that particular code is looking like, whether there is any kind of front end logic which we can bypass or not. during our further sessions, we will be looking at the front-end logic bypass, right? So in case if it is authenticating from the front-end logic itself, it is not sending that authentication request to the backend server, we can modify that particular thing, and we can try to log in, and we can validate the internal functions as well without any kind of. So those specific type of things we'll be doing in our information gathering. We'll be reviewing the code. We will be trying to extract as many as information from the executable file, right, which can help us to go forward and do the next all particular validation of the vulnerabilities. Then we'll be analyzing the network packets, right, and conducting the dynamic testing. So here we'll be using MITM proxy. We will be using 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶. We'll be using Wireshark, right? We'll be validating what all protocols are being used, what all requests are being sent, how actually the specific requests contain the data. If it is like using the secure protocols, right? For example, SFTP or HTTPS, or if it is just utilizing the normal plain text protocols, right? All of those specific things we will try to modify those specific requests. Those things we'll be doing, okay, for our dynamic testing and the client side, basically for the server side validation. Then we'll be going forward with our client side validation. We'll be checking the front end of the application, whether we are able to go forward and have any particular type of details from the executable. We will be reviewing the PE headers of the application, whether there is those specific any details within that or not, right? And we will be validating that whether we can have any particular type of sensitive data like tokens, internal URLs, all of those type of things. Then we'll be doing the binary validation. So in this scenario, we'll be validating how actually that particular the code or the dump of that particular process will be looking like whenever we had executed the code within the application. Normally what it will do is it will be doing, or it will be creating some, it will be requesting for some specific type of DLL files within our particular system. We will be checking whether there is any particular type of DLL injection or not, right? What actually, whether it is creating some specific type of temporary files, right? So at that point of time, what all temporary files it is utilizing, what are data which are being stored there, whether it is plain text or not, right? So likewise, we'll be validating those specific things within our system. Then we'll be checking weak user graphical interface. What actually will be available in this one? Many times the application, what it does is, for the authorization, it just hides its own tabs or its own pages. Here we cannot tell its pages, but it hides the specific GUI which is related to that particular person. For example, if there is admin user who is login, right? Admin user will be seeing one of the page which is configuration page, right? In the normal user, once I'm logging in, the page will be available, but I will not be able to see it. It will be in a hidden format. So basically, if it is having the weak graphical user interface, I can unhide it. I can unhide it with the set of tools. And basically, even though if I'm normal user, I can go forward and I can see those specific things, right? So the weak graphical user interface will be validating, and at last will be checking the memory. So during the runtime, how actually the memory is occupied by the application, and what actually are the details which it is storing in the process and RAM of our system, right? So these are our testing methodologies. The same things will be following during our projects as well, and basically we'll be going through step-by-step manner in the same methodology during our learnings as well. So basically, what all are the things which we'll be using for information gathering? We'll be using multiple tools. CFF Explorer, normally it will be useful for us for checking for the portable executables within the specific executable file. What actually are portable executable will be understanding in depth in our next few sessions. But overall, it contains the overall information of what actually that particular application is, right, for our operating system. So whenever we execute any kind of executable file, right, our system tells, right, if there is any kind of error which is available, right, before executing that particular thing itself. For example, if it does not have any kind of specific libraries, our system does not have any kind of prerequisite libraries, it will directly tell us, right? if the file size is small or large, or if the file size, or if there is some specific type of issue, right, where our architecture of the system is not supported. Our system will directly tell without without executing that particular thing, right? So that happens with the portable executable. It will be having all those specific information of what actually our system, the executable file is supporting within the PE headers, and we will be reviewing the PE headers, right, with this particular tool. Second one will be strings. This is from official Microsoft suite itself, right? So basically that will be giving us all the ASCII strings. Then next one is dnspy. For .NET application, it will be able to check whether the code can be extracted or not, like this. Before proceeding, right? Any doubts, any queries till now?
Yes, I just want a small clarification.
Yeah.
What is PE?
PE, anyhow, we will be understanding in depth in our next sessions. But overall, what happens is it will be containing few of the information for our operating system to execute before it gets executed. For example, whenever there is one exe file, right? I'm double clicking on it. Okay, so basically for installation or for execution, our operating system will first of all verify whether all the things are correct or not, and then it will execute, right? Many times you might have seen the error that the executable file is of 64-bit architecture, although system is 32-bit architecture, so we will not be able to execute it, right? Many times you might have seen those specific type of errors that the .NET library is not installed in our system, right? So that is the main reason why it is showing the error. So those specific things which the executable file will be having or will be available, right? Will be calling something like DLL files, which it will be calling later on. The time and date where when that particular file was created, the author details, the overall all of the imports and exports, right? All those specific information will be stored, okay, in one particular place called PE, which is portable executable headers, right? So whenever we are executing, first of all, our operating system will validate this PE headers. It will collect the information and it will check whether everything suffices the requirements or not. If yes, then only it will start execution of that particular executable file, right? So as a penetration tester, we'll be reviewing the same headers to validate what all are the extra information which we are getting from that, and whether it can help us for our further exploitation of likewise. But
It's
we'll
like
be
a pre-requirement, correct?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. We will be deep diving into what actually are the each and every PE header, what type of information it will be collecting, but in it we will be understanding in our next few sessions. Okay. Yes. Any doubts? Any queries? Yes.
Keval, actually also a recording because we need to travel.
Recording is already there.
There, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you share that through email or
I will be sharing it with management. They will be sharing it with you guys over a Google Drive link. So
okay,
they will
great.
be creating Google Drive, and from in the same folder they will be uploading all the recorded sessions, this PPTs and the assignments which I will be sharing, and basically all those things will be available there itself.
Okay, great. And one more thing, like for practicing, are you providing us some dummy app, like from where should we?
Yeah.
Okay,
After
great.
every session, we'll be having those dummy apps and the sample applications which we'll be seeing during our sessions, right? All and along with the assignments, we'll be shared it in the same Google Drive link itself.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Any doubts and queries still, guys?
No.
Next one is our second step, which is analyzing the network packets. So for that, we'll be utilizing Wireshark. Wireshark is a very famous tool, right? I believe you guys, everyone will be knowing. It is a packet analyzer where we'll be able to understand what all are the packets which are shared, what all protocols are being used, and based on that, we can validate whether we need to use Eco Mirage, we need to use IMTM proxy, or what actually we need MITM proxy, or which particular tool we can utilize to go forward and do the same. Next one is TCP view. So TCP view is again the similar. It is having the similar particular functionality. It will be validating what all are those specific TCP or UDP protocols which are being used, whether it is internally communicating with other processes or whether it is externally communicating with some of the external servers, right? Exact details on which process is connecting internally or externally with which particular IP address will be shown to us. Okay, that is very much helpful for our analysis as well. Next one will be for dynamic testing. We'll be using 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, 𝗔𝗃𝗏𝗏, MITM proxy, and those specific things we'll be utilizing at that point of time. For client-side validation, we'll be using ProcMon. ProcMon will be giving us those specific details. It is process monitor, right? It will be monitoring what are the step-by-step things which is done by that application. Okay, if it is creating some kind of temporary folders or files, if it is creating some specific registry activities, if it is creating some separate threads or processes, what actually are the step-by-step thing which is done by that application, and based on that we'll be able to go forward and identify what actually that application is doing for us. Next one is red-shot. Red-shot will be to identify whether there is any changes in the registries or not, right? Registries, what actually are these registries and how they are being utilized by the client applications. We will be understanding in depth in our next few sessions. But overall, registry will be a smallest database in our operating system, which is utilized for those specific type of purposes where it needs to be utilizing the same data again, right? For example, in the Skype, if I log in and it asks me for my preference, that which type of language I would like to see in the application. Now, if I close that application, it will not remember, right? Because once the process is killed, the memory will be freed out, the RAM will be freed out, and it will not remember those things. And many times it will not be storing anything in the files as well, where it will be taking up the data, right? So those kind of things where our preference and those specific type of things, right? This applications will be utilizing the registry for. So whenever next time it gets executed, that particular data will be taken up from the registries, and basically it will be having those specific things for. And even though if we have changed anything, modified any of the key details, right, the same things will be utilized registries for, right? And basically it will be having. So we'll be checking whether there is any type of registries which are available or not. In my previous experience, right, I have seen many of the projects where the client application stores the clear text credentials, right, in registries. So definitely it is a big thing, and if anyone is having that registry access, definitely they will be having the admin access or whatever access they want, right, of the application. So definitely that is what we'll be looking at that point of time. Next thing will be Process Explorer. How we are having this Windows Task Manager, right? Similar type of things will be available in the Process Explorer, but in a better way, right? It will be able to give us many of the information which will be requiring, right? It will be able to give us the real-time strings. It will be able to give us all those specific process dumps, right? It will be able to validate and show us what all are the child processes, what all are the parent processes which it is creating. So those specific things it will be able to give us, and we will be able to go forward and have that particular details as well. Next thing will be binary analysis. We'll be using Hydra. So basically here we will be able to go forward and check the assembly level code. Okay, don't worry, by hearing assembly level, right, assembly language, we will be understanding how actually assembly language looks like, right? How we'll be able to review those specific things. So all those specific things will be taught to you before jumping into that particular part. So definitely don't worry, we will be having the basics of assembly language, and then we'll be jumping on how actually we can review those specific things as well. Next thing will be graphical user interface testing. For that one, we'll be using WinManipulate, WinSpy++. So basically, they will be able to modify and show us the hidden contents from the GUI level. Then memory analysis will be using WinHex and strings again. So basically, we'll be able to see the dump memories, right? And we'll be able to see what actually that processes and threads are doing. All of those things will be there. Right. So basically, this is what we will be having as a part of our tools. Now, how actually our environment will be looking like. Normally, we will be creating one of the virtual machine where we'll be deploying all those things. Now, typically, if you are having your main machine as Windows machine, you can analyze this particular things, but I will not recommend you to do that because many times this kind of tools, right, will be available wherever test applications will be running, right? So basically there we need to deploy the database, and many tools will require the database to be installed, and all of those set of things will be there. So what we'll be doing is we will be going forward and we will be installing one of the virtual machine, right? Where we'll be installing Windows 10, right? And basically here we'll be installing all of those specific set of tools, right? So that your data will be available and your testing environment will be separate, so that you can install all those specific tools, right? Many of the applications will be vulnerable. For example, if you are installing vulnerable applications, the attacker, or you will be having the possibility of getting attacked with that particular thing, right? Like how attackers used to do previously. Normally, they used to have send you, or basically in case if you are downloading one of the movie from torrent, right? So at that point of time, what they were doing is basically they were sending the incorrect DLL file, and VLC media player previously was having the DLL hijackation, right? Basically, so basically at that point of time, what happens is your system will be compromised because of that particular video file, right? So that happened previously lots of time. So definitely we are going to use many of the vulnerable applications, and we will be separating out so that your system will be uninfected, right? Anyhow, we are not going to deal with any kind of malwares, but we are going to deal with the vulnerable applications. So definitely we will not be exposing our main machine with the vulnerable applications. We'll be exposing the virtual machine so that your main data will be secure, and you will not be having any kind of infection within your main machine itself. So what actually we are going to do, we will be installing first of all VMware, right? We'll be installing Windows 10 in that VMware, and then we'll be installing all the tools for that particular in that VMware itself, right? So basically here, that is the thing which we will be having. What we need to do here is for you guys, we need to first of all download Windows 10 in our system, right? So for that, if you are using Windows 10 as your main operating system, what will be happening is you will not be getting the correct download link directly. So what we will do is we will just go ahead and I will show you how to download Windows 10. And then basically in our next session, we'll be understanding how to configure the environment as well.
अभी तक अपने बबशूट का कुछ देखा नहीं, बबशूट है नहीं है कि इस
बबशूट है ना, बबशूट है ना, यहाँ पे होगा, ये रहा देखो, वेबसाइट होगा पर इतना ज्यादा नहीं होगा। लाइक हाउ हमने मतलब वेब एप्लीकेशंस में पूरा वेबसाइट ही यूज करते हैं ना, इतना ज्यादा नहीं होगा, बहुत ही छोटा पार्ट होगा वेबसाइट पर होगा वो। ओके, so now if we go to official Microsoft link with the Windows 10, right? It will detect that we are utilizing Windows as our operating system, and it will give us this kind of options, which is update now and those kind of things, right? Now what we need to do here, what we'll be doing is we will be opening this in Chrome browser, right? If you do not have Chrome in your main machine, you can just install Chrome, but I believe definitely all of you will be having Chrome browser. You can click on this option, which is this 3 button. You can go ahead with more tools and developer tools. So basically you can go to developer tools. Here we will be having this option, which is toggle device toolbar. It looks like a tablet and a mobile phone logo. You can click on that, and then we will just refresh the page. What will happen is basically now you can see previously we were getting the option of loading only, right? That loading, let me just show it to you. So previously we were getting this kind of option, which is update now and download tool, right? But to install it in our VMware, we will not be able to utilize the tool. We need that ISO disk image, right? So we'll click here, We'll refresh the page. And what will happen is, here you can see now we are getting the download option, which is Windows 10 update. Select edition. We will select the edition as Windows 10. We will click on confirm. We will click on select product language. We will select in English International. We'll confirm. We will select 64-bit because 64-bit also accepts 32-bit, right? Architecture of applications. So basically we will select 64-bit, and here you can see the download has been started. It is almost 5.7 GB, and I'm not having that much space in my system. So basically currently I'm canceling it, but basically you can follow the same steps and you will be able to download Windows 10 officially from Windows site itself without requiring any kind of license itself. Okay, so this will be lifetime free itself. You will not be requiring any kind of license. You will be directly able to install the Windows 10 operating system lifetime for free. Okay, no need to go ahead and buy the license and those kind of things. So I will just share this link. What you guys need to do is till tomorrow, you can just keep it downloaded, and then we will go forward with our installation steps as well. Okay.
मेरे पास वर्चुअल बॉक्स है, VMware नहीं है,
आपको
चलेगा?
वो भी चलेगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Okay. Any doubts, any queries till now, guys?
ये सब इंस्टॉलेशन करने के लिए मतलब क्या कॉन्फ़िगरेशन लगता है?
4 GB RAM और 4 GB RAM और 40 GB हार्ड डिस्क. Yes.
See, I had clarification. As per your advice, so how many VMs and we need it
One VM.
for this?
One VM.
No. How many VMs we need to create it basically? Yes, I need to
Many?
consider my system utilization. That's why.
Only this Windows 10 VM only we will be creating. And basically,
Okay, as per the 2-tier, 3-tier plan, so we need to do those testing concerns. So in those
total
scenario,
number of VMs, right?
we need,
Okay. Total number of
yeah,
VMs
total
will
number
be
of
three. Three. Total number of VMs will be 3.
Okay. Basically Windows 10 for testing in tools environment setup, correct?
Correct.
Basically.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So
fine.
overall, if you see, if you want the resource, how much you need to free, right? You can free 100 GB of hard
Yes.
disk, and if you have 6 GB of RAM as a free RAM, then it will be perfectly fine. You'll be able to install all the VMs
I
within
have
that
that
resource.
30 GB RAM actually.
Okay. Then it will be fine. So 100 GB of hard disk, you can make it, and you are good to go. Nothing else. We will not require.
Or I don't think. See, I just want small clarification. Even my production environment, I have the vSphere commercial vSphere license. I had it. Even I have the license in Windows 10. Where I can practice it in my production. Is it affecting anything? Or it's make vulnerable for until the course I can practice it in the live environment. Is it going to affect anything? Yeah, that means environment going to
Better
affect,
not to use
it's
live
making
environment, right? Better not to use live environment in case if you have access of some test environment, right, where everything is internal. You can go ahead and do that. I don't recommend installing anything in live or production environment. And if it is, if you are having that much space, right, in your machine as well, it is perfectly fine. No need to
no problem.
touch, because many organizations has many policies regarding production environment. If anything, if small thing fails, right, for example, here we are installing and we are downloading some kind of .NET separate framework, right? So at that point of time, if it is affecting the other applications which requires another version of .NET framework, right, then definitely that is going to crash, right? So better not to touch the production.
No. I am going to create 3 more extra VM systems. I already have each and every servers and everything will be in separate VMs only. So for the practicing purpose, should I can create 3 more extra VMs? That's my query actually.
Sorry, actually your voice is from bit far. Can you please repeat once more?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it is much better. Yes. Can you please tell me?
Okay. No, see, I'm going to create extra 3 VMs. I'm not
Okay.
touching anything in my existing
Okay.
server.
Then it is fine. Then it is fine.
So that's why I'm.
Yeah. Then it is
And then
fine.
it's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
No
Then it
problem.
is fine.
Okay, fine. Fine. Thank you.
Yes, guys. Any doubts? Any queries? Anything, guys?
Thank you, Kunal. I think today the session is finished, correct?
Yeah. It is finished. It is finished.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. Any doubts? Anyone? Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I don't have any doubt. Okay, I'll download it and we'll correct it.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. So let us join tomorrow, guys. I will be I will be checking with management. In case if there is some NDA forms or anything which they will be sharing. Okay. Definitely you will be getting this recorded sessions link and the PDFs and everything. By today evening or by tomorrow morning, so that you will be able to have and revise as well before the session. But I will check with them and you will be getting some updates from the management side as well. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts, any queries, anything, guys? No? Okay. Let us join in tomorrow's session. It was great to have you. Let us join tomorrow and on the next session as well. Bye.